I expect you woodworkers to crawl out of the woodwork and bust my chops for claiming that you can make a rip with this that's as nice as a track saw, right? Well, maybe you can and maybe you can't, but I'm going to show you the 4 or 5 different ways from quick and dirty to slow and darn good. Tricks you can use, materials you have on hand to make a cut almost anybody would be proud of, including a trick using this stuff to make a cut that has to be really good, maybe in a way that you hadn't thought of yet. So maybe you've got to make a cut that's about, let's say 1 5/8. So instead of measuring to your blade and doing a bunch of math, put a mark on there that you're happy with, and then bring the saw up and start it, and then sight down to where you are bringing the calibrated front edge of the sled, of the foot, sighted over the edge of your work, and then keep your eye on that mark and make your rip. Not bad, not great. You can probably follow a chalk line just as easily. Let's try that. Everybody knows about chalk lines. It's another freehand cut. We're going to go 2 inches this time. Rough Carpentry 101. One of the things is you make your mark far enough in that when you put your hook at the edge of the work, the string is coming over the mark instead of burying the mark with the hook. Does that make sense? You want the string to reference onto the mark, not the hook. And so you snap it a couple times. Everybody knows this. Don't cut your fingernails. Now it becomes whether you want to have the wide side of the table on the work or the narrow side. In this case, I'm going to put the wide side of the table on the body of the work. So with that cut, I had the depth kind of shallow. It was projecting, I don't know, maybe 1/2 inch, which has the saw up in the air, center of gravity quite a ways. I mean, the overturning moment of the saw increases. So even though it is not as safe, I prefer on a critical rip to get the saw right down there. So it's down on the work. You can see that it gives up some of that. Let me put these in. I start it, get oriented, get my feet flat on the ground, and start the cut. This one, as you may have already seen, looks more like the high C's than a nice straight line. You lock your wrist. It's not that you're squeezing so hard, it's that your whole forearm and elbow is locked. Let's see how we did. That's better. It's not great. We are, 3/32 wide right there, maybe 1/8 of an inch. The rest of it's good. We've got to do better, and we can. Let's put a little better substrate under there. So you do your mental gymnastics of figuring out the distance from the edge of the table to the edge of the saw, depending on if you're taking the piece or leaving the piece. You make your determination, you drop the saw all the way down, you make sure you're not going to create any kind of a shipwreck with the additional saw penetrating. Keep an eye out for a straight edge, preferably, 1/2 inch ply, an engineered wood product. It's not going to warp. This has a shiplap edge, so it is only bearing right down there for the bottom 1/4 inch or so. I like that. This is a table saw rip. That's a factory edge. The factory edges nowadays are straight. Lean it up in your shop and you say, well, that is a track saw. Well, not quite, because this was free. And a track saw is anything but free. So if you have one of these and a couple of clamps, you're in business. Let's make this cut and see how this one looks. So I don't know if you can see that with the camera, but there's probably a 1/64 of an inch. I don't think that's a 32nd. So is this perfect? No. But if I would have used my skill saw instead of this, I would have had a better chance. 1.9 inches. 1'9", 1'9", maybe just a little bit weak, but not much. Okay, maybe you don't have sawhorses, maybe you don't have clamps, maybe you're working on your driveway down on some 1x4s to keep the saw out of the dirt. How are you going to hold your straight edge still? Well, maybe you can hold your straight edge still with double-sided tape. Let's put one on the other end. It doesn't take a whole bunch. Let's put one in the middle. Let's just guess on this. Now I can see the trick here is going to be like Formica. And that is coming down on your marks before you make contact. All right. So now you don't need clamps. You don't need sawhorses. All you need is a straight piece of trim and your trusty skill saw. Makita circular saw. Okay, so that's pretty good. No splintering, no tear out. Looks straight. Let's see if it is straight. Pretty dang good. And I'll tell you what, a $6 piece of trim doesn't impact the family budget as much as a track saw. Okay, full disclosure, I had to go buy this for this video because I lose these within the first 2 weeks. I open a saw, every saw comes with one of these things, and before you know it, they're gone. It's just a guide, and the same one that fits my skill fits the Makita, fits the skill, except you see I had already lost that. But it doesn't matter. You see instantly what it does. You can get a wider guided rip, and this fence follows a factory edge, or at least a straight edge. The thing you got to be careful of is that you don't change that distance by not keeping your saw straight. So pay attention to the visual between those two straight lines. Lock your grip. They work good. But when you're framing a house, you can never keep track of one of those. This is as good as anything else we've done. Maybe a little bit better. It deviated when I got down to the last 8 inches, but the rest of this is kind of machine straight. So what you're doing when you set up a straight edge like that or buy a track saw, you're trying to convert workmanship of risk to workmanship of certainty. David Pye wrote a fantastic book about that we're going to talk about one of these days. But just think about that term. See what conclusions you can reach in your process of turning workmanship of risk to workmanship of certainty. So anyway, whatever you got to do, I mean, be creative, right? There's always a way to solve the problem. If you intend to do good work, and if you're willing to stay at it until you get good work, you're going to create. You are going to bring to this world good work. And that's something that a guy can be proud of. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work.